Well, hello, and welcome to this almost completely unannounced ninja stream on this beautiful Friday. You might be wondering, what is this guy doing streaming again? He just did last night. And that's true. It was a pretty good stream. There was something kind of weird going on with the VOD though. I guess my internet might have been experiencing some problems or something of that sort, because the VOD got kind of choppy. Actually, it wasn't available for a little while after the stream ended. And so I've been messing around with OBS today to make sure that I get these things actually recorded locally if that happens again. And so I figured I should just try that. And what is the easiest way to try that? Well, that is just to stream a bit more. Right. And I guess technically we've done that, so I could now end the stream. But I don't want to do that, because I had a pretty good thing going yesterday with designing this area here, so I might just do a little bit more of that. I have continued the work since yesterday. We have these two cliffs now are fully textured. They have the materials going. I have tweaked the trees a little bit, tweaked the colors, redid the texturing for the leaves actually, because it was a little messed up previously, and we don't have as many intersecting leaves anymore on these guys. So small things. But basically, I'm going to continue just where I sort of stopped yesterday. The next thing on my list for actually figuring out this art style would be more stuff on the ground. In particular, like pebbles, or well, I call them pebbles, but they're probably going to be like rocks that are roughly. Let's copy this guy here. We have a person standing there, right? Let's make the radius like 0.5 maybe. Yeah, rocks around this size. This is hardly a pebble if you're this person here. But still, like pretty small things that we scatter around the place to just fill out the look and feel of the world. And I have a system set up for that actually, called the decoration system. And it hasn't been used in Traction Point at all up till this point, but I've used it kind of extensively in Slide, the previous project. Let's try to get Slide actually running on this computer as the first thing we do. Yes, hi Rick. I guess you are the first, at least the first to comment on things in this stream. Welcome. I don't know how long this is going to be. This might be like 30 minutes, or it might be 2 hours or something, but this is completely unplanned, essentially. So you can thank my bad internet yesterday for this stream. Let's go into slide data and just delete the cache. So in the cache you have a bunch of things that are pre-converted. These are essentially all the assets in the runtime form. You're not really supposed to have to deal with these things. I'm sure some of these are like PNG files, for example, right? So except they're not really PNGs; they're DDS compressed. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, these are the pre-converted files. Let's delete the cache and let's have the asset server actually reconvert everything for us. So open slide data, and this is going to take a while. We have like 1,200 or so files here. Well, not really files, but resources. And a resource might consist of several files. And the reason I want to get slide running on this machine again is that I want to look at the decoration system a little bit. And I think we're actually going to just quite simply take some of the small rocks and stuff that I did for Slide. I mean, Slide is technically sort of the same game almost. Not perhaps technically, but in spirit. Slide was the game and is the game that was supposed to be called Traction Point before I changed my mind and did sort of a reboot of the project. So these things called small rocks here, right? I think the larger rocks in Slide are probably too high poly for this art style, so I'm gonna have to redesign those. I think these small ones they're already low poly enough that these are just gonna fit right in. Right, so I have like small rocks here, and then I have collections of these guys. I think that's what we're looking at, or something to that extent. I mean, that rock kind of looks like that rock, right? But anyway, I think we're going to take these collections. They're going to be very small in this other game as well, and we're just going to generate some quick materials for these guys, and then we're going to use them as decorations. And decorations you can sort of paint onto the terrain. That's not always the best way to actually put stuff into the scene, but you can do that. So let's see if we get that working. Yeah, 700. Some of these things take longer than others, so we're doing some pretty heavy things now, and now we're doing slightly less heavy things because we're progressing a bit faster. Yeah. I know this time is hardly like streaming prime time, at least in the Western world, so I don't expect people to really show up for this, and I don't really mind one way or the other. This is going to be a kind of just a laid back afternoon of me working. But you're welcome to join. When we have this converted, we should be able to actually open up the level in the same level editor. But I'm going to shut this down because we need to switch projects essentially, right? So rather than means, we have to do slide. But as long as we have the resources converted, we should be able to open it with the same tool. All right, 150 to go. And what we can actually start with is just actually let's go through CMake and see if we can run the game. The level should be actually exported for us, but I wonder if I need to actually re-export it. I did change my material format like about a week ago, which is why we couldn't open slide in yesterday's stream. Right, so everything converted, that's good. Let's see if we can open slide here. We got this far yesterday, but we didn't get into the actual game. Okay, so now we can. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, I'm sure some of you have seen this game, so maybe we don't need to spend that much time actually playing it. Let's see if we can open the level. Yeah, the level is also gonna take a little while to open, but not that long. In the meantime, we can open the asset browser. So basically, I need to remind myself how these decorations were made. I think Rocky Forest is probably, that's sort of like the one and only biome that I put together. Okay, so here we are. Rendering the light probes. That should only take a few more seconds. And when that happens, things like foliage and trees should look a little bit better. And I guess they do. That's a pretty subtle change, and you can see it especially in the shadow, that sort of thing. Right, so this thing is sitting on a layer called foliage decorations. We have foliage decorations, we have ground decorations, and we have background decorations and other decorations. Those are actually empty. Okay, so we can do like create standard decoration layers. Yeah, I had some idea like that, so that different decorations would go on different layers just to keep things a little more organized. And you can see here when we go into the small rock collection, which is one of these things that we actually looked at in Blender. Alright, it's this. It has a decoration object component. Layer name, ground decorations, paint radius 0.5. I think this is related to how, when you're actually painting these guys, how much space does it put in between them. Paint min scale, paint max scale, so it can apply different scales. Terrain alignment factor is like, I think, 1 would be aligning it with the terrain angle, like 100% essentially. And 0 would be don't apply any rotation based on the terrain. And then random Y rotation just like, well, randomizes the Y after it's done the other thing. So that's pretty good to have. Hey Tobias, nice to have you with us. Okay, I think that's basically everything we need. So we need a transform. This thing doesn't have physics. We can't see any physics shapes here, like we can with this, for example. This has physics shapes. As you can see, it uses a static body transform component. The decorations don't have anything like that, because they're really just a world transform, world matrix, and a mesh and a material. So you give it a mesh component, and you give it a material or several, but I think decorations might actually only support one. And you probably want to use light probes for the GI. You don't want to bake these hundreds and thousands of small rocks to the light map. Yeah, I think this should be it. So we should be able to do just this thing in means as well. What happened? Why is my scroll bar not working here? Oh, it's not working because there's nothing to scroll actually. Yeah, it should go away when it doesn't need to be there, but some reason it didn't. This is an interesting thing. So editor only. This object is actually not even exported into the game. Like typically these objects are actually exported into the game, and you can refer to them from script, and you can even like delete them if you want to. That sort of thing. Editor only objects aren't. So this decoration object thing is really sort of the way that these guys get into the game at all. Yeah, you can see we have lots of these. Not necessarily going to put this many into means, but we want a little bit of this stuff there as well. Cool. Let's try to hijack these small rock collections and see what that gives us. So we don't need that. We don't need that either. So small rocks, Blender file. Yeah. Actually, let's do it the other way around. Let's start just a straight up empty Blender scene here. We can maybe go into means, work folder root, environment 1. So this is going to be like decorations. So let's add a folder here, decos, and we'll add an underscore work folder, and in that underscore work folder we'll add this file, but we'll actually append the stuff we just looked at from the previous project. So projects, basis data, yeah, basis data, no, not that, slide data, work folder root, rocky forest, small rocks, something like that, and we'll get the rock collections. Can we append all of them? We can, actually. Append all of them, that's nice. Get rid of these things. Bye-bye. Right, so what I typically have done with my new assets in means is that I'm going for a low poly art style, which means that I want sort of hard angles, but you still want to shade things smooth, typically. So things like this rock here, lots of hard angles. You still want to shade things smooth, and then you typically want to set that you want all of the edges to be hard. That means that all the edges that you have here are actually going to be sort of hard edges, but any sort of implicitly triangulated faces, those aren't necessarily going to show up as edges in the final object. That's been getting me pretty nice results. So let's do that. Let's yeah, this is now shaded. I think it's auto smooth actually is what we want. And then we just make everything sharp. Mark sharp. And then you have like face like this guy here, for example, which is made up of two triangles. you don't see any edges between those triangles, which is kind of what we want. So I think that's good. Okay. That is rock collection 5. Yeah. It can probably sit where it sits. I don't really care. The annoying thing with using Blender to model several objects like this is that you have to sort of move them to the world origin when you export. And doesn't seem to be a way to automate that. Or well, I mean, you can write some Python code, I guess, and then automate it that way, but that's annoying that you have to do that. Sharp, auto smooth. Wonder if these actually are too detailed, if they have too many faces for this art style that I'm going for. Maybe. We'll want to do something about some of these, like I don't know. They're gonna be just like a few pixels on the screen. This many polygons don't really matter after all. Let's see. We'll put them in as they are, and then we'll see if we have to just, if they don't look good, we'll have to do something about them. Right. That's fine. So let's save this now to means data, folder root, environment 1, decos, work, rock collections. Rock collection. No, rock collections, yeah. So all of these are. We have a collection of collections here, essentially. Okay. So maybe we should now do the same thing we did with the cliffs previously. These UV unwrapped. They are, and they're actually kind of nicely UV unwrapped. That's nice. Are they though? Oh, they're probably just using the same. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Good work, me. We're not going to use this texture. This is not the art style that we're going for now. But yeah, that's fine. And we don't have to really care about any light mapping or anything, because these are so small that we're not going to light map them as previously mentioned. Okay, that's probably fine. Let's append a material from why are we still here? We want to go to cliffs. Cliff 5, for example. Yeah, we can get probably all of these materials going. Well, that's not what I wanted. But it's fine. Let's make that a UV editor and then split this off. And down here we want the shader editor. So material highlights. Right, my GPU is again dying. Let's see. We probably have we have EV here, so it's not even the heavy stuff yet. Not even the heavy stuff yet. We do have the editor running in the background. Let's just unload the editor backend for a second. Yeah, if you weren't here yesterday when we did some baking in Blender, then you don't know this, but my GPU really didn't like it. It kind of blew up. So, Right, now I'm having second thoughts about this UV unwrapping thing here. Actually, load of black texture here. So we have these rocks. They occupy some space in the UV. And we have these rocks. They occupy partly the same space in the UV. That was probably a good idea back when I had that one texture, but I wonder if that's actually good now, because because the edge highlights aren't necessarily the same for all of those. Thing is though, do we really need edge highlights for these guys, or can we just use like almost like a single colored mesh for them? I bet we probably can. Let's start with that and see what that gets us. So I'm not going to mess with any materials here in Blender at all, actually. Let's move that to the origin. Come on, grab Y, put it there. And this is what I meant when I said that you need to sort of move them to the origin when you want to export. That's annoying. So this would be rock collection 1. Basis mesh. So then you can undo, move it back, and then again. Move to origin, rock collection 2, move back. I only have a few of these, so it's not that bad, but it's not fun to have to do it this way. If anyone knows a good way to automate this stuff, then let me know. I know there's an add-on called Capsule which supposedly handles this stuff, but I wasn't able to get it working with recent versions of Blender. Right. Can probably protect some of these materials if we need them later. Right, so now we have a bunch of FBX files here. That's fine. Maybe we can create a very, very simple material for these guys. Let me open up another one of these. Go to game, materials. We have the base material. We need the base material which has light probing. Base material color light probe. I think this is probably the correct one, the closest one to what we want. So it has quite simply a few colors. It has a diffuse texture. Why does it have a diffuse texture? I bet we don't even use that for anything. No. We don't use that for anything. We can just get rid of it. Right? Yeah, none of these use any textures for anything really. So we can just get rid of that. Diffuse texture, go away. And save. It's such a simple material that I hardly use it for anything. Yeah, my lighting model is a little weird because you have both diffuse color and diffuse texture color. So it kind of separates those two, even though they probably technically shouldn't. Anyway, that's fine. Let's oh, actually we need to open it and then we need to create a material variant here. And this one we will put in the decos and let's call it rock collection. And now we can quite simply just give it a color here and export. So what color should we give it? Something grayish. Should I use the same color as for the cliffs actually? Probably. can start with that. I guess they're supposedly like small pieces of the same rock. We don't actually have the color in Blender, I guess. We need to look at it from the here from in1. Or is that, no, it's actually it's map refinery, because the cliffs are sort of level specific meshes. So this is the color. Fuse color and ambient color. Let's copy these two guys as the hex codes for them. Move that off to the side. So diffuse, ambient, and I guess the specular is probably, it's almost black. Don't really use any specular highlights in this art style. Specular power is 2. Yeah, so it is 2 here as well. And it's 02, 02, 02, that's fine. Let's put in the diffuse color, specular color, and that's it. I would export this guy. What's what editor? You mean the material editor or the asset browser? If you mean this one, this is my material editor. Right, so we're using the base material color light probe material here, which has some node graphs that generate the shader code, and then it has some parameters. These are things that you can override, and then we create a material variant which lets us override the thing. Yep. Yeah, if you're interested in how I made this, there's a whole video series about it on the channel. Something called creating a material editor from scratch or something like that, which goes into detail. It's it's a little old, but the basic premise is the same. We generate code like this. So here's the vertex shader. The nodes insert a piece of code depending on the order and the evaluation of the stuff. And we have the pixel shader. So here we have, for example, the color that we just did. Right, I was wondering why one of the colors is completely white, but yeah, the base material actually has a completely white diffuse color. That's why it's white. And there's a slightly darker color, that's that one, and then there's a color that's almost 0, that would be that one. Right. And then this 2.0, that would be the specular power here, yeah. Stuff like that. But yeah, there's a whole video series on how it's built if you want to do something similar yourself, and there's also a blog post I wrote on my development blog, which is linked from that video series. So have a look if you want to know more. Right. So now let's go into we have the meshes there. We have the materials there. Oh, I'm in the wrong project. Sorry. Let's open up the asset browser now. I'm going to means. I'm going to blueprint. I'm going to environment 1. And here we will create. So env1 rock collection 1 probably. And what was it that we were supposed to make? We were supposed to make an editor only object first of all. Base type is nothing, placement offset is 0, and we want a mesh component. first of all. The mesh is supposed to be rock collection 1. Material is supposed to be rock collection. We don't want it to block the nav mesh. We want the GI type to be light probe. And that's basically it. It's not dynamic. I think that's probably it. Now if we open a preview here, we should see them in their full glory. Beautiful. And now to be able to actually use the decoration painting tools, we don't necessarily have to, but we should add this decoration object component, which makes the system know a little bit more about our decoration object. Paint radius 0.5, paint min scale 0.8, paint max scale. Let's actually make this a little larger, like 1.5 maybe. And this was 75 for the very same mesh in slide, so I assume that means that it's a pretty good factor for this particular mesh. Alright, and now we can just duplicate this a couple of times. Or shall we say 5 times. Just change the mesh and we get the other ones there. 3, 3, 4, and 5. Something like that. So something that's actually maybe we want to look into this a little bit. Like if we have the we're already running a preview. Yeah. If we disconnect that. That one didn't like it. Some of these things, some of these tools kind of start to own your computer when you run them. They're not really designed to be used multiple at once. But if we go to Rocky Forest Blueprint here, I think the small rock collection and actually most decorations in slide, they have this thing where, yeah, you can ever so slightly see that it kind of fades or dissolves rather. It dissolves away with the distance to the camera, right? So if we make this 10 times larger, like this, you should be able to see it quite easily here. It has this dissolving effect, which is pretty nice. I think I want this for the decorations in means as well. And so we're gonna have to do a little bit of shader magic to make that happen. Because the decorations are placed in like an oak tree. And then based on some distance somewhere that I can't quite remember right now, they're either rendered or not rendered. So that feels kind of handy. That feels like something that we probably want to have in means as well. But let's see if I can remember how my decoration painting worked. So we can go to like rock collection. I think this is how you can. All right, we don't have no layer named ground decorations. So we can do create standard decoration layers. These are sort of hard-coded. You don't need to use these if you don't want to, but they're sort of hard-coded into the tech currently what these names are. Right. Yeah, normally when you place something it goes into the active layer here, but these objects have like knowledge of which layer they're supposed to go on. if you paint them as decorations like this. They should be ever so slightly more deeper in the ground or something. I don't know exactly. But now we can start to paint these things, and it generates like random positions, random rotations, and they should also be sitting on the terrain. So if we paint here, they kind of follow the shape of the terrain. So that's quite nice. I do feel like painting of these things is usually not the best way to paint to place them though. So there's also this, if you hold down shift, you can like sort of paint a single decoration using the exact same system. So it does the same thing with like aligning with the terrain and all of that, putting it on the correct decoration layer, but you have more say over where it is actually placed. Yeah. Yeah, this art style is not exactly the same as we currently have, though. So maybe we need to modify that a little bit. Right, now if these were just normal objects, then they wouldn't actually show up in the game, because this ground decorations layer that you see here, it doesn't actually have this lightning bolt, so it's not auto-loaded. Now if we load the game, you should actually see them, as long as the decorations are. Yep, now they are there, they are visible, and if we toggle on render decorations, we can see that they go away. Nice, okay. The system works. I haven't used this in a while, actually. The system works. They don't have physics, which is important to remember. So you shouldn't place a big enough decoration somewhere where the player would expect there to be collisions. That's not gonna look or feel good. They're supposed to be just things that you can sort of drive over or through, depending on the object. And if you want things with actual physics, then you place proper game objects. Yep, alright. Good. And that is why we will, once we get these decorations in order, we'll actually place or create some actual rocks as well. Because I want some rocks to poke through the ground, and I want those to have collisions. Yeah, I experimented with some. Oh, you can't actually drive on those. They have the wrong physics material. Yeah, the wheel just sort of slips. Oh yeah, these are just spheres. I just put them here yesterday to experiment a little bit with what it might look like to have some rocks there. But okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll take those away. They weren't really painted with proper thought. I do wonder what to do about this art style, though. They're probably a little too round, first of all. And then they really kind of should have edge highlights. Talk to Loris about the SIG stream promotion. Turns out the bot only picks it up when your Discord online status is streaming. Ah. Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't really, I don't think I necessarily have ever set my Discord status to streaming, right? How does that stuff work? I mean, thank you for notifying me. First of all, that was nice of you, but yeah, I don't know exactly how to even set up streaming in Discord. I just randomly posted my streams there on the SIG stream channel occasionally. I didn't post this, for example, because I don't think we're really gonna do any Zig programming today. Streamer mode. Enable streamer mode. No. Oh, so it's supposed to do it itself. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I do have well, I just started Discord and I do have OBS running now here, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it's actually supposed to look like. But okay, yeah, thanks for the heads up. I'll look into that at some point. I guess most of my really serious programming is done sort of off stream. So my streams tend to be more sort of content or game design, asset design, level design oriented, more than just sort of pure programming streams. But I guess occasionally I do that as well, so it's nice to know that I need to put attention into that. Okay, so few things. The shape of the objects need to be probably less round. The material needs to reflect that and probably have edge highlights. And finally, I wonder if the size should be a bit larger. Something like this. Like if you have some rocks here, let's put one that is like it's kind of big actually, and then we scale it to like double the size. Now that's actually kind of big, and it probably shouldn't lie in the middle of the road. But if we put it somewhere here, I think that's starting to look like a decoration that fits this art style quite well. And now if you drive over that, you should sort of drive through it, and I need to see if that is actually, if that looks bad basically. Like this thing is pretty big now, so I think that, yeah, like anyone would expect to actually collide with this now. Okay, so maybe the scale wasn't right after all, or shall we say maybe the scale was right. Maybe these these things that are this large should actually just be game objects, and we'll leave the decorations for smaller things. It's a bit difficult to judge the scale. quite often when designing this art style, because it has so few features that it's sort of difficult to see, is this good now or is it too small or too big. Yeah, so maybe this is actually pretty okay. I need to work on the shape and the material a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I think that rock you can drive through and it's not going to make anyone particularly angry, especially if we have lots of rocks that you can actually bump into. So that's probably fine. Let's leave the scale as it is. But let's add some better shapes. So we get to do a little bit of modeling. Sure, those can even be there. Doesn't matter. We can even hot upload it if we want to. A little bit of coffee. And then let's move these guys off to the side. Let's actually add some space for ourselves here. Move these guys off to the side. Just grab X, maybe like 5 units, or what is that, 4 units. And we will add a cube. I haven't modeled rocks in a while. I wonder if I know how to do that still. We should make sure that this looks somewhat good from all directions and angles. Like we can't, for example, not do the underside, because if we do that, then you can rotate it randomly. Or it will look really bad. Yeah, this is not really how you model rocks. I'm aware of that, but I don't want to get fancy because these are so small that they sort of, I feel like it shouldn't really matter how we do this. Doesn't really matter. Right, that's a pretty good low poly rock. It's a little large. Let's try to keep the size roughly similar to those other ones. And actually we'll just move it to the other side. We have some rocks there that are waiting to be placed. Then we can do another one. Let's use like an icosphere this time around. Subdivisions, none. Then just pull this in a few different directions, like so. Then maybe we could do like a bisect, and just cut it like somewhere there, clear outer, and put in a face. Then we merge some of this stuff. looks alright. Looks like a cracked rock or something. Hey Lucas, welcome back. Seems like you always have time for my streams, even though this was completely unannounced. And really sort of an extra ninja stream. But glad to have you back. Where did those... Oh, I bisected away all of those other ones. Yeah, that's interesting. That wasn't actually what I wanted to do. Let's undo a bunch of things here. So basically I did... What was it? I had like probably all of this, and then if you do like a bisect this way and clear the order, yeah, it clears clears everything in those other ones as well. Naturally, that is how it works. I just need to make sure I only have this rock selected. Yeah, that is how it should be. So not all of that, but just the linked ones. Then we bisect. Oh, linked, bisect. Now it's probably inner. Yeah. Yeah, alright. I know Blender, I know that's how it works. But yeah. Stupid me. I'll actually use some of these. I think that one looks kind of nice. Let's duplicate that and move it to the center. See if we can just get rid of some of this. Clear the sharp. Merge a few of these as well. Merge there, merge there. What should we do here? Even merge that, merge that, merge probably that there. Something like that. This has way too many. Dissolve that edge. Dissolve those edges. Then maybe we can join that. We can join that, and like perhaps bring up this face a little bit. Something. I don't know. I don't know. Let's merge that there. That looks alright. That looks like a low poly rock. Let's do the sharp ones, put the sharp ones back. It has a little too much detail still. Don't want it to have too much detail. Yeah. Just because it really doesn't need to, and it doesn't make it any better. It has too much detail. Maybe this actually, like, reusing one of these wasn't such a bright idea after all. Solve the edge, we can put in an edge there instead. Second eye have to work. That sounds like a very good thing. Sounds like a very good thing to have at least one eye working. Yeah, I wasn't really expecting anyone to show up for this. I didn't even know if I wanted to just do a very simple, quick test stream, but here I am plugging away. So I really just started streaming to test out some stuff in OBS. That's what today's stream is all about. But now we're designing rocks, as you do when you test things in OBS. Okay, let's do a few more. I'm not gonna reuse those now. Let's just get rid perhaps of those. I think we have the size, overall size pretty well figured out. Oh, did we have some? Did we have some edges here that actually weren't connected to anything? What is this? Sort of looks like we did. Rid of that. How strange. I kind of like the overall shape of this guy. Can we decimate them to the extent where we have where we have the correct amount of geometry? I bet we can. I think I've actually sculpted these rocks for Project Slide back in the day, and then done like a retopology. A real grown-up way of doing things. But we're not doing that with traction point. We don't need the level of detail that gives us. Yeah, something like that. Let's rotate that, put it a bit on its side. Like so. Maybe even rotate along X a little bit. Like that. That should make it kind of interesting whether or not it's upside down or not. So. Take that, put it there. Scale that up a little bit. Then take it and put it there. Or maybe a little further apart. Right next to that one. We get this guy. Move it there. This thing still has way too much geometry. Can't be helped. It's too detailed. What do we do about that? Decimate it by hand, of course. Yeah, that's better. And then maybe we can actually we can do a little bit of bisecting on this guy. It seems like something that we should bisect a little bit. Just that angle is a bit extreme, perhaps. Let's oh, come on. Yeah, it deselects it when I let go. And there we go. Bisect that, clear the outer. Oh, face. That's fine, but now we can just collapse these things. That one as well. Let's move that by just by so. Yep, that's good. Okay. Now we... Oh, there's some extra stuff there. We can actually leave that there, but let's merge that with the last one there. No one's gonna see that anyway. Let's move it there. Okay. Now we take one more. Take all of the edges, mark them as sharp, like so. And we can just quite simply get rid of those other guys. I don't think they're really what we're looking for here. So now, if we export this as rock collection 5, was actually... No, I did it wrong. I need the correct settings here. Right, so we have two slide browsers. We don't need those anymore. Right, so here are the new rocks. And yeah, I think those fit the thing better. They are the ones, right? Yep, they are the correct ones. That's a rock collection 5. That's good. Okay. Now we need to give them a material. And I guess we do the material in the same way that we do the material for the rocks. But the thing is that I want the same texture for all of these. So this is rock collection 5. I'm going to do 4 more. And I want the same... I want them to just fit all on the same texture. So that puts us in something of a pickle. But not really. I just need to design those other ones. But it means that we can't do the material now because I need to UV unwrap them all then in one go to have them all appear on the same texture. So texture space. Let's do cube. And let's start cutting the cube. Quite simply bisecting this guy like crazy. Clear inner, fill. Clear outer, fill. Outer, no, inner. So, outer, fill. Maybe just sort of chip away at this as if it was like a block of marble almost. The romantic notion of the sculptor sculpting his low poly rock decorations. Like so. That looks like a low poly rock, does it not? I think it does. Right, I even think it's sufficiently low poly for our needs. So let's move that off to the side a little bit and add another one. What do we want this time around? I think like icosphere and cube are sort of the right choices here to start with. Yeah, maybe we won't actually do 5 of these right now. I can do more than if I want to later. Maybe we'll do just like maybe 3 or something. That should be more than enough for what we are trying to achieve now. That also means that I won't have to sit here all day doing this. When what I really want to do is iterate on the level. Okay. It already kind of looks like a block of rock. Let's just merge some of these points that are sufficiently close together and move to the next one. I think that's probably fine. Right, this can be like a 3 rock thing. Let's do one more cube. What? No, not knife. Fill outer. Fill inner. Oh. Okay, I think we're almost done with this. That looks pretty good. We can scale that down. Something like that. I want probably one of these to be a little larger than the other ones. Maybe we'll use this guy. It's a little large. Again, we don't want to create the situation where you're sort of driving through things and you don't get collision. That just feels bad if it's, you know, large enough. That's probably fine. So we can call this rock collection 1, and this can be rock collection 2, actually. Doesn't matter which is which. There we go. So that's sitting at like 5, -5, and that's sitting at -10. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's do one more. I know this is kind of boring content, but this is kind of boring to do as well. If it makes you happy. We're all very, very bored. Right. Something like that. Let's bring this. Let's add a. Join those two together, right? And then we can lift this up, or shall we say down, because I have the camera upside down now. Something like that, and then maybe we cut it. No, not with that, but with the bisect tool. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe I should do like a slightly rounder rock here for a change. Let's scale it along Y. Maybe grab these to the side a little bit. Try to make this a little rounder. Something like that. And we need to bisect this as well. Just because if we don't, then it will be kind of evident that this is just using the icosphere topology. It will look bad just because of that. Just move that over there. Move that over there. Actually, let's not do that. That's probably a bad idea. Let's move that over there instead. And maybe bisect it once more. Something like that. That's kind of nice. Yeah, the dissect tool is nice because it allows you to just get new shapes in here. You don't have to worry about the flatness of any new faces. It just cuts right through everything. So that's really nice. If you're trying to like manually in almost, I guess, all other ways. Well, the knife is kind of a similar tool, but in almost all other ways you have to kind of make sure that you get your shape to actually be sort of flat, if that is what you want. And in my case, that is indeed what I want. Let's move that up a little bit, and a face there. I think we're pretty much done. Right. So let's have these three. So we have 1, we have 2, and we have 3. And we can move those to the side. And now these are sort of almost like different sizes of the same thing. Like they are both, or they're all rock collections, but this is arguably like the smallest one. This is a little larger, and this is like the largest one. Not sure I really planned for that to happen, but it kind of did. Let's move these over together a bit more, and then that one is sort of off to the side. I think that looks more natural. Yeah, something like that should be fine. We'll call this Rock Collection 3. And now I think we should just be able to smart project these things, right? So let's make all of these sharp. Those as well. And smooth. Like so. And then we take all of them and we do a smart UV project. So we get all three objects, UVs, into the same map. Margin probably 0.02. What does that look like? Looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. There's a little bit of stretch on some of them. That's probably fine as well. These are so small that any detail that you see on them is just purely sort of happenstance almost. Like that. So now that they're UV unwrapped, now we should be able to bake the edge highlight texture. So let's do Rock Collection edge highlights. We don't need an alpha. We will, however, want to save this. Save as image. And now we can take material edge highlights. We need to assign it to all of them. And go to cycles and go to rendered mode, right? And the radius is way too large for this kind of thing, so let's do 0.1 and see where that takes us. Yeah, that looks all right. So the effect is very heavy here. I covered this before, at least yesterday. the effect is very heavy here, but we then tone it down in the material quite a bit. But that's fine. I think this is an emissive material. Yes, emission. So we can now bake this using an emit bake. And the thing we want to bake to is rock collection edge highlights. Bake. And this might take a while again. Because apparently Blender can't bake using an AMD graphics card, unfortunately. Right, okay, so it's done, but I actually only did one of them. I need to select all three and then do the bake. But it shouldn't take very long. Alright, looks like it did 2 objects. So every object gets its own progress bar. It's kind of annoying because you're like, oh, it's 70% done, and then next time we look at it, it's like 2% done. So, okay. Thank you, Blender. And there we go. That would be the edge highlights. That is essentially everything we need to bake. And that is essentially the only map I need right now. So let's delete these rock collections here and shut down the editor, because I will actually get rid of a few FBXs now from the project. So let's give it the opportunity to just not crash, essentially. This is rock collection 3. We want that there. Basis mesh, yes. We need to move that to the origin. Rock collection 2. And that is rock collection 1. Like so. Now I think we can actually just shut down Blender. We don't need Blender for a while. Rock collection. The material. But I do think we want to actually have a proper... This is a material variant, which is based on base material color light probe. I mentioned previously that we want to have that nice dissolving effect. So we should probably check what is this actually using in the slide project. Right, so here is actually the logic that does that. Yeah. So we have a fully visible distance, we have a fully dissolved distance. And then we have a dissolved pixel node. We remap the object distance to the camera. And then that's how we do it. That's cool. Let's keep that there. I think we can save this as rock collection. So now we don't have actually a material variant anymore. We have just the actual material. And here's some things that we can just immediately take away. Specular power, we don't need to expose that at all. color. Well, I don't really use specular. Let's just get rid of that as well. Diffuse and ambient is good enough for. Oh, we still need to have a color there for it though. Let's just plug it in. Hard code a color here. Plug it in. It's just black. Absolute blackness. Like that. And now then if we put this diffuse color to whatever we had it previously, this nice gray color, we have an ambient, which is a slightly darker gray color. And now we want to copy paste this logic from that previous material that we used to render the things in slide. We move this in between the probably goes actually before the scene lighting. Am I right? I think I plugged it into the position. Yeah, position is the one that I've used for this. So you need to just put it somewhere so that it goes sort of before the scene lighting. Yeah, that looks all right. Let's add a fully visible distance. What? Fully visible distance. And that can be like 80. And then fully dissolved distance. That can be 100. Let's start with that. If we look at the code that it's now generated for us here, here we have the pixel shader. Right. So before we get to the scene lighting node, there's a Bayer matrix which makes it use this almost like checkerboard dissolving pattern, and it does clip, the HLSL clip function, which just clips the pixel if the distance is too large. So that's fine. PS local 8, it comes from there, and it does the remap float. Yeah. That should work. That should work fine. We still need to put in the edge highlights though. So I'm exposing some things as parameters here because I'm expecting to probably override this with some other material, some other rock collection or similar decoration thingy later. So maybe we should actually call this something like deco base material or something like that. But let's add in an edge highlight texture, and it can even be the fallback diffuse texture if this is purely a base material, which maybe we'll want to actually keep it as. So texture parameter is what we want. We want to sample a texture using the UVs. And then we typically want to add that to probably, is it just the diffuse color or is it the ambient color? Yeah, it's ambient color as well. Otherwise the highlights disappear in the shadow. We don't want that. So let's multiply that. Actually, let's put it here. I'll take another one. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to scale it down. Let's do multiply by 1 for now. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to scale it down, or they will be super blown out. And this is the ambient, so it goes into ambient. Take another one of these. It's beginning to be a little messy here. Plug that in there, plug that in there, and then the result goes into diffuse and diffuse texture color. Like so. Then we generate that. Actually, we don't generate that. We create a material variant. Let's save this now as, what did I call it? Deco base material. And let's actually save it in a more general purpose place. So game materials, this is where I keep most of the base materials. So let's do like base material ground, or let's just call it decoration. Like that. And it might be that we need to use this scene lighting with light probes when we get that far. But let's not worry about that right this second. Right, and now we can create the material variant, which we will call rock collection. Yes. Rock. What was the name actually of the thing that I might not have actually exported it from Blender yet, but we generated the highlight texture, this guy. Save a copy of this here into decorations, rock collection edge highlights. That's fine. Like so. And now maybe if we go to the asset browser, still don't want the slide one, we want the means one. So we only have 3 rock collections now, so let's delete number 4 and number 5. And this should work, this should really work. Yep, and you can see that it's it's way too bright, that the edge highlight, just as I imagined. So what do we do about that? Well, we can actually add a parameter here. Edge highlight multiplier, something like that. 0.3 is typically pretty good. And then we quite simply get the float out of there. Only to turn it into a vector. That's annoying, but let's do it. It's a vector 1. It's a one-dimensional vector, also known as a scalar. Right, and now if we open the rock collection and we quite simply export it, and we should see, yeah, that's more like it. Those are some edge highlights I can live with, or I can actually enjoy. And it works for all 3 meshes out of the box because we use the same material for all of them. Okay, cool. Cool. So now, if we go back into the editor, we should be able to just start painting these guys right away. There's one more thing I want to do here in this base material. Decoration is what I've called it. Oh. Sigh. Let's see. Means blah blah blah. Game materials. Right, so I don't want to actually export this base material. We don't need that. We actually don't want to make any changes to this either. So revert that. And this decoration should be decoration. Right. Fortunately, most of my work files are JSON, so I can just modify them by hand if I want to. Okay, that's good. So now in this base material, I just want to turn on this. It actually has it only explicit exports. That means that if I just decide that I want to re-export all materials, we actually typically don't export these base materials because they're just bases for other. It's like a base class in C++, for example. You don't use them directly, so there's no need there's no point in actually exporting them either. But okay, let's open the level. And here we are. Rock collection 1, 2. What do we have? 3 and 4 here. Did I not save this? Maybe I didn't save it. I bet I didn't. Yeah, now we only have 1 through 3. 1, 2, 3, or 1 through 3. Okay, so yeah, I think the edge highlights still look a little too heavy, but that's now easily fixable by quite simply turning them down from this material override or variant, like so. Does that look better? It looks better, but I think I'm going to bring them down to 0.1. Save, export, and that's it. So they're very, very faint here for these guys. Yep, that looks good. Okay. So now we can start painting these guys, and I think those just look much better. Yeah. So now we are actually fading or dissolving these objects in. As you can see, they dissolve nicely when we get closer to them, like this. I kind of like that effect. I think it looks kind of nice. But we're not actually dissolving the shadow pass. So how do we do that? I don't remember honestly, but I do remember that I did it, so it probably wasn't very tricky. Let's have a look, see. Now we need to select slide because we're in that project. Yeah, I had the previously when I opened this, I had the means project, which is why we didn't get these nice editor like texture previews here. We couldn't find the textures because we were in the wrong project. So now if we go into shadow map, yeah, we have a very simple shader here actually in shadow map, and it's probably the same thing with SSA or normal map and HBAO depth as well. And the vertex shader is probably the same for all of these. It's almost the same. Okay. All right. Well, let me just copy paste these over to the new base material that we created, and that should take care of it for us. So go to game, materials, base material decoration. Now again we want to switch to means. Yeah, that drop down is a little annoying. It can be pretty easy to actually select the wrong thing there. So in here we wanna select which render passes we render this material at. Currently we have an opaque, we have a node graph. We're not rendering it in the transparent, the distant objects, or the editor gizmo passes, but the shadow map, SSAO, normal, and HBAO depth, we have a default pass set, which is typically what you want if you just have standard standard rendering features. It makes it more efficient to use the same pass for a bunch of objects if they look the same through the shadow map. But now we need to actually make sure that we have proper shaders in here. So, shadow map, pixel shader, looks like this. That's probably fine. Then we put in the vertex shader, which looks like this. Then we go to the next pass, that's SSHO, normal depth. And it's kind of complicated actually, because we need to store the normal and the depth in bespoke channels of the output here in view space actually. Yeah, I have a vague memory of doing this. It's already years ago. Pixel shader is, or vertex shader is a little more tricky, but not much. And then finally the HBAO. Pixel shader, it's actually easier because we don't need any normals, we just write the depth here normally. And vertex shader should be about as simple as one can imagine one being. There we go. So now let's do right, now we're actually exporting this again. That wasn't actually my intention, because this is the base material. Let's not mess around with that. Let's instead go to the environment 1, Techo's rock collection. And now we quite simply export this again. And now you should see that it does fade away like we want it to. Shadow map still kind of just comes in there. Was that really how it was supposed to work? Maybe it was. Here I've scaled up this decoration to like almost 8 times the size, and that's obviously not something that you want to do. If you put it to like 1, then you don't really see the shadows coming in per se. It all just kind of works nicely. Well, let's have a look here quickly. So SSAO, or actually shadow map, yeah, we just clip the pixel, we don't dissolve it. Yeah, I think there was something there with the shadows and dissolving the shadows that just didn't quite pay off, maybe, and I ended up just clipping the pixel instead. But anyway, that is why it goes away there. You can see when the object is starting to be dissolved, it actually disappears. But that's fine because this thing is going to sit inside the ground, so you don't really see the shadow popping in and out. And it just kind of works. Okay. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's add some decorations here now. These should now go to the correct layer, meaning we can actually then leave them there. Maybe we should up the upper scale value a little bit to allow the painting tool to make these a little larger than what is currently allowed. But I don't know. The distance is a little short though, so let's up the distance from 80 to something else. And we can do that too by just adjusting some of these parameters here. So let's do fully visible something like fully dissolved like 140, and fully visible 120. Does that look all right? We don't technically necessarily need to be this careful with this distance. We can like basically put it quite high. But at some point there's going to be an oak tree render distance threshold is going to come. And just cut the object out. Yeah, I think this is probably 160 is probably all right. We can definitely render objects. Even though we render lots and lots of them, we can definitely render them at this distance. That's fine. Some of these kind of stand out quite a lot if you, depending on where you actually paint them. If you put some rocks there, it's kind of visible when they come into sight, but I guess it's probably fine. Yeah, we need those slightly larger rocks that I was talking about to sort of fulfill the look. Gotta go, bye-bye. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Have a nice weekend. Yeah, we need the slightly larger rocks to sort of round out this look a little bit. We have these rocks here in the ground that you can see, but they're actually part of those cliffs. It's just a big hack. So, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more modeling. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I think that distance is pretty reasonable. We need to have enough of these decorations spread throughout the level that you can basically always see some of them, and then there's always some of them being faded in or faded out. And I think that is going to just sort of work visually. I do believe that to be the case. Yeah. Okay. Just to sort of finish this work week off with a bang, I'm gonna model one of those rocks that I spoke about. But I think I'm gonna need a cup of coffee to do that. And so I will take a 10-minute break, and I will be back after that. So let's write something here. I'm gonna leave this running for the duration. Coffee break. Be right back. Let's make it big. I can reveal some of our cool things here in the background. Someone happens to stop by. So I will see whoever is left after that in a bit. Which game engine is this? This is a custom game engine. This is something that I've built myself, mostly for making this one particular game. If you want to know more, I will be back in about 10 minutes to tell you all about it. I'm gonna go make myself a cup of coffee. Okay, we are back on a fresh cup of coffee. It should hopefully get me through this one last task I want to get done for this week. So Geno's Gaming asked what engine this is, and this is, for those who don't know, this is the Basis engine. I said that it's built for this game. That's not technically true, I guess. This engine predates this game by quite a few years actually, but it has been vastly improved for this particular project. But yes, it is a self-built thing. So now that we have these small rocks here, what we actually probably could do, and maybe should do, is actually just scale some of them up and use them for larger rocks. We don't even have to model anything. But that would require some of them to look really, really, really nice. Let's see if we have some of them who look really, really, really nice. Even at a large size. So what I'm thinking here is something like along this size, maybe a little smaller. They can be scaled up and down then after we have them in, something like this. We also have this pretty big one here, but they're all very simple geometry-wise, as we can all see, and they should be pretty simple to like you should be pretty it should be pretty easy to just use these small things as larger rocks. Question is, do we want to actually do that? Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't want to do that. Instead, what I'm gonna do, because it's so simple to actually model these things, I don't need to reuse everything from everywhere. I'm just gonna add a folder here called rocks. Inside of it, I'm gonna add a folder called _work. Inside of it, I'm gonna create a Blender file. Inside of the Blender file, I'm gonna create some rocks. And inside of the rocks, there is gonna be nothing. Rocks, work, and rocks. So let's do the exact same thing we did previously, but maybe have a little bit more of an eye for aesthetics this time around, because these things are going to be pretty big after all. So let's use the bisect again. Bisect is awesome. Fill and clear the outer. Just start chipping away at this piece of marble once again. Oh, and that's not good. I need to remember to select all of the points when I do a new cut. Like so, and then maybe we can grab some of these and mess with them a little bit to make it a little more, dare I say, randomized. Can add a face there to round that off. Can add a face there, but we don't actually necessarily want to do that. Let's instead subdivide that face. Yeah, like so maybe. We can move it over there. No, not super happy with that, so we can just cut it away completely. Like so. Right, so this is a pretty decent rock. Pretty decent low poly rock. Now let's do something different with this on the underside. So if you rotate it upside down, it will have some details which if you don't want to see, you can just keep it the normal way. Put it upside down. It has some special stuff on the underside. So what I'm thinking of here is actually we'll do like a cutout thing here, like this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. So we take out a piece of that and then add the faces there. So you get a nice sort of rock that has like a piece missing. Not sure that was a very nice cut though. So maybe do something a little nicer. Something like that maybe. That looks a bit more natural perhaps. Hopefully. Something like that. And then that can be kind of an interesting small detail. So that would be one rock right there. Let's take that one face there and just not proportional editing, but let's scale it up. Doesn't have two small faces. It would just be a jangled mess of edge highlights with the kind of rendering that we're using. Right, so this would be one rock. We can quite simply call it rock 1. And then we move it off to the side. Quite a lot probably to give us more room. Then we do another one. Let's use an icosphere this time around. And maybe start by just pulling these things. Messing with the overall shape. And then we will do a bit of bisecting to cut it. Something like that. And then we start cutting away. Maybe we make this like a slightly more sort of flat rock. Those can be kind of handy to have. interesting. Maybe here we can do something like let's do like a cut through here onto that point and then up there. And that gives us the ability to cut out this piece here. Then we can sort of continue cutting, but maybe this way. So do something like that, and then onto that point there. Let's see if I can actually fill this now the way I imagined I would. So probably start here, putting a face there. Then maybe we actually just need to continue this shape here until we sort of hit something like that. Then we just subdivide this. We move a vertex there, and now this should allow us to put a face there. Yes, it did. Now we should be able to put a face there. Now we have a face there. It was sort of a roundabout way to cut out this kind of piece from the rock, but I think it probably works pretty nicely. See if we can actually, can we get rid of this? Can we dissolve this edge? We can, which means that it won't show up, at least not as a very noticeable edge then in the edge highlights, which is nice. It's kind of not something we want. And now here, this is this is clearly like an icosphere topology going on here, so we need to do something about that. Let's cut the hell out of it. So maybe even cut this whole piece off. Like so. And now this has this detail thing here on the top, actually. That's fine. Should we put like a slight angle to this maybe? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. Something like that. Perhaps. Let's take that and scale it up a little bit. Again, let's not have these too small faces or too short edges. They typically don't look very good. Like that. Yeah, maybe this is interesting. Maybe we should turn it on its side by sort of default. So something like that. I think that looks kind of interesting. Might look better if we put actually on the cavity rendering here. Just like world. You get a little bit of AO. Essentially. A little bit of AO. Then we can do shade auto smooth. And we can take all of these edges, mark them as sharp. It doesn't quite change the appearance here, but it will change it in the game. Actually render it out. That's cool. We can do the same for this one. All the edges sharp. Oh, what do we have here actually? Now that I kind of hate to go back to this now, but yeah, this is not going to work without some tweaking, you can clearly see that there's like an angle here. We have this enormous triangle here that is trying to solve our lighting issues. I'm just going to make it flat, or flat enough. And that probably takes care of it. I think here it might make sense to actually put an edge there, just to make it so that it doesn't try to create that kind of nasty enormous triangle. It just won't look good. Yeah, let's actually move that back, but let's leave that edge there that we created. Cool. Okay. So let's do one more rock. Let's do actually. This didn't actually turn out very flat. So let's make one which is like truly flat now. And what should the flat rock look like? There's the means browser. Let's open up slide once more. I had a pretty nice flat rock in slide. Not gonna let any rocks go to waste. Rocky forest. Let's see what we had. This is obviously a pretty different art style. Here's like a pointy rock. That's kind of interesting. That could work also in this game. It does have. It is too sort of detailed though, the geometry. Right, so it's not actually here. Where's that rock that I was thinking about? It's not one of these guys, weirdly enough. And here are some pretty cool cliffs that I modeled, actually sculpted. And I think this one I haven't actually sculpted. This is sort of based on some asset pack from somewhere. Some of these are really cool. Cool things. Yeah, again way too actually detailed. Maybe it was these things. These I haven't actually modeled. You can see that they're kind of interestingly and really quite nicely textured. Maybe it was one of these things that I was thinking about. Yeah, we have some trees here. Probably going to reuse some of these for traction points. Some of these actually look really sort of nice. I mean, this is a nice tree. This is a nice looking tree. I just have to give it the right kind of textures and materials, and I think it will fit right in. Yeah, it might have actually been like this rock here. So you can see that it's kind of simple. It's almost like a slab of rock. It doesn't really have any sort of shape. This is like normal maps and everything applied to it, so that's kind of nice. I just don't use normal maps in this game at all. Sort of decided to not bother. That means I don't have to bake any normal maps from like a higher density mesh to a lower density mesh or anything like that. I'm just not gonna do that this time around. But yeah, try to do something like this. Maybe I'll just move this off to the side. Let's see if we can model something that looks looks vaguely like that. So let's start with a cube. And maybe that is roughly the sort of height to other size ratio that we're going for. Something like this, and then just sort of maybe bring these guys in a little bit. That means that we need to do it probably with this one as well. Maybe these ones too. And we have brought everything in except this thing, so maybe just do it with everything. Give it like a it's like a slightly smaller on the top side than it is on the bottom. Like that. And then we start again to just cut away. Cut away corners, cut away outcrops. Maybe do one like this way instead, like so. And here we can definitely merge those 2 points. Does that work? I think it kind of does. Maybe we wanna not that. Maybe we wanna cut this once more. Something like that, maybe. Right, so this is kind of, this feels a little strange. Probably need to bring that point up. Like so. Now I think that's kind of nice. Yeah, I think that works. Works pretty nicely. Just a few more cuts. And then we need to do something to this top side. I think this is clearly going to be sort of like a single-sided rock. Maybe we'll do something to the underside, and then we can use it upside down as well. But we need to do something to this top side because it's completely flat. So what do? Let's like inset this thing. Oh. Center. And then maybe like, actually let's not inset it that much, let's inset it much less. Let's do like an inset like this, and then we can bring up like these, or those 3. Just grab them and move them upwards, move them inwards, kind of something like that. Does this make sense? I don't know. I honestly kind of don't know. Yeah, I mean this does look a little strange. I think we want to probably move that there and then maybe cut through this instead, like that. Right, and then we can mess with this top side ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. Mess with this. So it gives us this sort of uneven feeling of this top side. So this is very much like just a slab of rock, right? With an ever so slightly uneven top side. Yeah, maybe that works. Maybe that works completely fine. So maybe we can just do this. We can just do faces. Just delete faces, and then we have one which is sort of single-sided like this. It's kind of not what I typically do though, so maybe I'll do something different. What do I do? We can of course just go crazy and just cut this here a few times, and that probably will give us something that looks, you know, interesting enough for whatever we might want to use this for. Join those. Here we have a face that's not planar, and we can make it planar. So let's do clean up, make planar faces, and then you can just, well, it actually made it planar already. We don't have to do any more iterations with it this time around. Like so. But okay, this still looks really boring compared to, well, even this top side of it, and especially these other rocks, I feel. Well, maybe that's actually fine. Maybe this is just a somewhat nondescript side of the rock. That might be completely fine. Right, so we have rock 1, we have this which we should call rock 2, and then we have this which we should call rock 3. And now, let's see if we take all of these guys. Oh, we should do the same edge mark sharp business with this one. Now if we take all of these 3 and do a bit of UV unwrapping. It's a complete mess. That's of course because it is not UV unwrapped at all. So let's try with the smart UV unwrap. Smart UV project. That's probably not going to give us now. It's not going to give us something very nice. And I think I want something nicer for these guys. They're not going to get a very large texture anyway. Probably gonna have to make do with like maybe a 1K texture. I mean, I'm gonna probably bake this as a 2K one, and then bring it down inside of bases to a 1K texture at runtime. So let's see, how can we actually unwrap this guy? Maybe leave that one in there. Like so, and we do mark seam. Then we do maybe this path here, mark seam, and then we take this over here, mark seam, and cut like a relief seam over there. Maybe it's not actually a relief seam, maybe it is a seam that allows us to unwrap the whole thing. Like so. And you can see, yeah, it's considerably better. Let's consider that done. I'm not gonna spend much time on these things. UV wise, just do whatever feels like it would work and move on with your life. Yeah, okay. And that probably requires a relief seam over there. How should we do this then? Maybe something like this. Can we include these guys in it? Like so. I'll have to see if that works. This will probably work. This will probably work. That will probably work. And then we take like that all the way over there, down there. Let's leave the bottom as its own UV island. Something like that. Let's see if that works. Works pretty well. I think this guy could do with a relief seam somewhere. Maybe there. Yeah, clearly. There's a little bit of stretching going on here. I think it is probably quite good enough for what we need. What we need to add to this thing. Here's something that's strange though. This is you can even see it here in the lighting. The blender it goes like, what does he want? What does he want from me? And I don't even know what I want from this. Well, let's figure it out. So it has like... It is not planar. That might be something that we can do to it. To make it better. It's from here actually. Make planar faces. But this is kind of a strange face. And how would we actually triangulate this now? It's kind of a strange thing, right? But it actually does look like it's getting UV unwrapped quite nicely, so maybe we leave it as it is and then poke at it if we feel like we need to do that. So here we can put in a relief seam. And that should make it a lot better. This also looks like a place where we need to put in some relief seams. Where do we do it though? Maybe there? And what is this? I think that's a relief seam. This is sort of micromanaging the UVs at a level that I'm not sure I really need to do, but you can try to help Blender out a little bit here. Right. We need to make sure that we don't get overlapping UVs. Like this is a place where it's almost overlapping there, but it's not actually. So that's fine. If we now do something here, it may actually start to overlap. What if we put in a relief seam there? Now it actually became just completely blue, so that's nice. Yep, that's one UV unwrapped rock. Let's save that and then go to this final one. I guess like arguably this should be easier than the other ones, because this is almost like a slab of something, slab of rock. But it might not be that easy. Let's see. I went that way, but that's clearly not correct. Do we have the whole top side? I think so. Add a seam there and see if that works. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to add some relief seams there on the corners, but that's fine. Let's do that if we need to. Then we have the bottom side. This should like pretty much just work, because this is so simple. I'd be shocked if it didn't work. Shocked, I say. Shocked to my very core. That's probably a seam. And that's probably a seam. And then that's probably a relief seam. And then that's probably a seam. And then we have this thing here, which, yeah, is gonna need some help to figure itself out. Let's add a relief seam there. See where that gets us. It gets us a little further, as expected. I think that's probably a relief seam as well. Yes. And then we have this thing here. Maybe that's a relief seam. Yes. Now it's just completely blue. That's pretty nice. And then we can just help this thing out by allowing these to sort of split open a little bit, and it becomes a little bit more blue. That's nice. Now we just take all of them and unwrap, and we get this. And what do we have? That's perhaps the most stretched place currently. Yeah. It might just be completely fine if we load like the let's actually create. We can create a UV grid. I typically have a bunch of these in my work files. Create a UV grid here. We can save this in like the maybe decos work UV grid here, like this, and then we add basically like the most basic material you can imagine here. Actually, we can probably append it from one of these cliff files. Cliff 5 material, like so. Take this guy for example. Let's do like a diffuse BSDF and use the UV grid on it. UV grid PNG. It's that one. So what was the thing? It was this edge here. I think this looks positively awesome. No need to mess with the UVs there. So I bet we are now basically done with the UV stuff. Now the next thing would be to first of all probably bake protect these materials so they don't go away. Not necessarily going to paint anything here, but I have these 4 materials here for a bunch of different objects, so that if we want to paint something on them, just like the cliffs, then we already have a material that helps us do that. But material edge highlights, that's an important one. So let's get the 3 of these selected. We need to switch to cycles, and my machine is immediately gonna be stressed out. Again, the radius is way too big. Maybe something like 0.1. And what kind of stuff does that present us? I think this is probably quite fine. This top side is sort of confusing to look at, but I think it will look pretty good when we get it in the game. So we can bake this. We need to build add a map for it. So this would be like rock edge highlights, and we bake it as a 2K texture so that we can then use 2K if we want to. Oh, I fill it with a UV grid. That's not a problem. We're gonna bake to it in a second. Right, so rock correction, edge highlights. Now we have rock edge highlights. Save as image. Rock edge highlights. We take the 3 of them and we bake using the emit bake type. And again, it's going to take a little while on my AMD computer. But it should be the only thing we need to bake here. Once we have this, we will expose it to the game. We will export these guys. We will create a material. We can just use a single material for this. We don't need any dissolving or anything like that, because these are large enough that they will they won't require the sort of more aggressive distance culling thing that we used for the decorations. And oh shoot, I think I probably need to, just looking at this texture here now, you can see that this is sort of going off the side. I think we need to actually re-unwrap these guys, and we need to add a bit of margin here. Maybe even 0.02. Yeah, let's do that, and then we can rebake, because otherwise we're gonna have problems later when we like do light mapping and things like that. So bake. Just like yesterday, if this was like a VOD that I was recording rather than streaming, I would just skip this part. It takes like 5 minutes to bake these things, or something along those lines. Right, so we have one object baked, the other one is coming along, and then the third one. Yeah, I mentioned previously that on my main machine, the one I typically do most of the work on, but never really any streaming on. I have an NVIDIA card, and making with NVIDIA is just so much faster in Blender. This is sort of ridiculously slow in comparison. But it is what it is, and this this particular material tends to be kind of slow to bake. So, not exactly sure why that is. But the bevel node, this guy here, doesn't actually work in the Eevee renderer, so I bet it does something pretty heavy. And that is why. It only works in cycles, but it also only, or well, it also takes quite a long time to actually bake using the CPU. But we're nearly there. And there we go. So now we have the edge highlights, and this should, in theory, be everything we need from Blender. So now we can save a copy of this, move it outside. N/decos is fine. Rock edge highlights, yes. Save as image. I can go here, and we can export these guys. They should all have only sharp edges, right? I think so. Looks good. So we can take this guy, move it to the center. Let's see, increment snapping. So move to center, and we do rocks. Yeah, actually I did save that probably in the wrong folder now, didn't I? So environment 1 is not supposed to go here actually, because it's not this is not a decoration, this is an actual game object. So out of decos and into rocks, yeah, this is where we want it. And this is where we want these guys as well. In environment 1 rocks, basis mesh, export FBX. Then we can undo the move to origin. Oh, it's supposed to be rock 1, rock 2, and rock 3. But this is not rock 2. This would be rock 3. And this thing called rocks is actually supposed to be rock 1. Like so. Now, these objects are big enough to most likely get light mapped. So let's take the light mapping base material. So it would be base material diffuse light mapped. Probably this guy. Like so, and this is a pretty simple material, but we need to actually modify it a little bit. We can't just base it off this thing, because the edge highlights are like an additive thing. It's not something that you actually just mix with the color. You actually add it to the color. So environment 1 rocks, and we can just quite simply call it rocks, like so. can go to the rock collection material that we also had. And we can see here that we don't have a diffuse texture here. We have an edge highlight texture. And that's supposed to be the edge highlight texture. And then we have these three colors. That's completely fine. We can move these off to the side a little bit. Move those there. So we have this edge highlight texture, and we want to take it, sample it. We want to multiply it with something that in the previous material we called edge highlight multiplier. So I'm just exposing this. If we want to base something else on this later on. Start with 0.3, that's typically quite good. I'm going to copy some nodes out of that previous material we did. So edge highlight multiplier, we multiply whatever comes out of the texture with that. Right, and then specular color, we can actually just move over there. We don't want to mess with the specular color here at all. But we do now want to take the ambient color and add that onto the edge highlights, ambient color. We want to do basically the same thing with the diffuse color. And we plug that into diffuse texture and diffuse. And I think that should be it. Should be everything we need. So let's build that. We get a rocks.bin material. Now we can go into, let's shut down this slide one. I think I don't need it today anymore. We go to environment 1, rock collection. Let's just add in environment 1 / rock 1. And we need a couple of new things here now compared to what we did with the rock collections, because now we want collisions, right? So we want a static body transform component first of all to be the transform component of choice, and we probably want the tri-mesh. Now the nice thing with just using low poly meshes is that you can basically just use the same visual mesh as the collision mesh too. That's typically pretty fine. It's usually not what you want to do if you have a very highly detailed visual mesh. You don't want to use the same mesh for the collisions for a number of different reasons. Blocks nav mesh. Yeah, I think it probably should block the nav mesh, right? And this is light map. Maybe it can be auto, actually. I'm not sure. Let's leave it at auto for now. With a little bit of luck, this should now... Actually, this won't work. No. Yes. No physics mesh data found for resource rock1.bin mesh. That's completely expected, actually. And we need to refresh this. Thank you very much. So we need to just tick this box here on the FBX files that we want physics data for them. Otherwise, it won't generate a physics triangle mesh. That's fine. Go back to ENV1, rock1, and now it should actually work. And we have something that's super bright. Super bright. All right, so what's going on? What is actually going on here is that I have the wrong fallback texture here set as the edge highlight texture, which obviously we don't want. We want the edge highlight that we just baked, and it goes into rock edge highlights.tex. And there we go. That looks better, but it's still very, 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 very bright. And then the other problem here is that we actually want the colors set up correctly. So we go here to rock collection. And I'm just gonna copy paste those. I actually probably have them copy pasted already. Yeah, I have them here. So we're dealing with essentially just like white, pure white color, onto which we add highlights that are also white, which means that everything is just ridiculously bright. And that's why you see this thing that's just glowing and being kind of crazy overall. There we go. So that looks like the rock that we created. Much better. I wonder if these edge highlights are a little too bright, but we can tone them down if that is the case. So let's just duplicate this. We get those two other rocks in as well. Like so. There's the other one with the thing that was cut out. And then we have the third, the slightly weird one. And there it is. And we should have physics data as well. And yeah, it looks all right. That physics data might actually be like slightly unnecessarily detailed there. There's something weird going on here. I wonder if this is yeah, these might be like a slightly too thin for this edge highlight to work properly. But I can fix that at a later date. I just need to probably modify this third rock a little bit. So let's reload the level. Right, Lucas says, I think there's something called AMD Pro Render plugin for Blender that adds support for AMD GPUs. I did not try that, but I might just do that. It sounds pretty handy. Sounds pretty handy if it does add support for those. Right, so yes, you can see a number of issues actually here. First of all, the thing is probably too small. So we just need to scale them up in Blender quite a bit. And then the second one is that the edge highlight is too bright. That's actually pretty simple to fix. So let's do that. This is the closer to the thing I want to go to of the two windows. So let's just bring down the edge highlight considerably, and there we go. That looks better. So now these two things look like they sort of come from the same place. Or if we move this to here, also looks similar. And here as well. But of course the nice thing now is that we can rotate this guy and we can get like, oh, there's some like interesting stuff on the bottom. And it's not necessarily very interesting, but there is stuff on the bottom. Here's another thing that we might want to fix. You can see that it's triangulating across this whole face here. It has some trouble getting the shading to be correct. I would probably triangulate the other way, like across this instead. That should help it get the lighting set up better. So that's something to look at. But yeah, now we can place rocks into the world. That's That's exciting. That's exciting. So what's the like rough scale I want this to have? Probably like 5 times as big as we had them. They need to be 5 times as big as we modeled them originally. That should give us a pretty good size. So maybe 4. Maybe 4 is fine. I think 4 is probably fine. All right. Let's try to get that pro render thingy happening. Pro render for Blender, fast and easy and incredible. Right, it's a rendering engine. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure this is actually what I need, because basically what I would need, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to have hardware support for rendering in cycles. I mean, I'm sure this is capable as well, but it's not the same thing. So I don't think I think it's probably not like a drop-in replacement for cycles in this case. And I don't want to render these on different machines with different renderers, because then the output will probably be kind of different, right? Yeah, so what I would need would be like one of these render devices actually for cycles. And that's what I would need to use this in the same way. I don't know why. What is this? HIP for GPU acceleration. Let's try that. It does at least let me select my Radeon thingy here. So let's try that. What was the thing I was gonna? I think it was it this thing here, where it luckily I have an undo stack in my editor, so I can undo to figure out where I was. So it's that phase, and this is on rock 1. So rock 1, this phase. Yeah, it wants to triangulate this way, and that's a bit silly. So let's do this instead. Let's triangulate across that face, and then I probably should attempt to make this face planar. I think so. Yeah, I'm not gonna make that edge sharp. It can definitely benefit from just being smooth. I think that's better. Then we scale everything up by 4. So like that. Then move it off to the side. And we scale. Maybe we'll move this off to the other side. And again, we scale everything up by 4. And then finally that one. Like so. Now if we take all of these guys and we go into cycles here. Then I guess we should be able to render the edge highlights. Let's see if the baking is faster now. Oh, I need to probably still toggle it on, right? Yes, I need to put it here. GPU compute. Okay, we're getting visuals at least. That's nice. Let's try to bake. Let's see what's what. Yeah, see, this is faster. Look at this. Now the percent is just jumping off the page, leaping off the screen. Yeah, this is what you want. It's not as fast as CUDA with an NVIDIA GPU, but it's considerably faster anyway. So it's just me not realizing that I can select GPU baking there using the HIP, whatever that is. HIP render device. But yeah, I'm sure the Pro Render thing could be another option to render things like this. It might even be better than Cycles for all I know. But then I would probably have to use it on all of my machines to render these things. So that's that's something that I could do if I wanted to, but I don't currently want to do that. Just because Cycles is so well understood in the Blender world. Right, so here we have something that's kind of weird. Let's see if this was the actual problematic case here on the level. I think it probably was. So if we put a rock number 3 down here, right in the smack in the middle of the road. And then we see here, okay, what was the funky stuff? Well, there's some funky stuff there. There's a little bit of funky stuff here on the other side as well. Yeah. I wonder if we're just sort of, if I'm shooting myself in the foot here by having this somewhat weird top side on this rock here. I might just be doing that. So let's simplify this just a little bit. To make these faces plainer probably, but let's not have these super thin, super long faces here. That's not gonna give us anything nice. Just a bunch of problems. I'm just getting rid of those, and instead what I'm doing is I'll add this sort of small ridge here on this side. And hopefully that will end up looking somewhat interesting. So probably like join those two together and maybe get that, take that away. Like so, and then we should probably try to make these things plainer. This whole thing here. Mesh, clean up. Make planar faces. right? Is that better? I think it might be. At least a little bit better. I don't know, this is sort of a jumbled mess of faces, which is fair because that's sort of how it was created. But it doesn't look very nice. I think we need to make these into quads for it to look somewhat okay. So maybe something like that. Make faces planar. Something like that. Let's try that. Now that we have a faster renderer. Before we do that though, let's add a rock 1 and a rock 2. Rock 1. Okay, object type selected. Okay. Rock 1. Let's see if there's anything other strange with this before we bake that stuff. So we had this thing that we already looked at. That was probably solved already. I'm hoping it is solved already. All the other edges, they look pretty good. Same thing here actually. Or is that the same? Maybe that's the same face. We have two of these faces, but there's this sort of cut in on this rock. So I don't remember which one I've seen and which one I haven't. They may end up suffering from the same problem of being triangulated in a strange way when you actually export them. But it looks pretty good. Let's look at the other one. And I think this one didn't have as many problems as the previous one. There's something ever so slightly wonky with this here, but I think that's sort of within the error margin really. And this is a little long and tight as well. Yeah, you can even see like a little bit of weird stuff here in the rendering. So let's take that and make faces planar. Take that and make faces planar, and maybe that now solved it. Let's hope. So now we'll go back to cycles and do one more bake, and hopefully this is now the final one. We probably need to unwrap them though. I'm gonna make the margin ever so slightly larger, just to be on the safe side, and bake. And once I have these rocks, I'm actually gonna end this thing now. It did end up being just as long as yesterday's stream, which really wasn't sort of the idea, but well, I got some pretty good work done today as well. So thank you to everyone who has hung around today. If you have any comments or questions, you still have some time to ask them or say them in the stream. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait until the next one. Yeah, so the rendering is considerably slower even with GPU acceleration on AMD, unfortunately. It's kind of annoying that NVIDIA is just consistently better at everything. I mean, I have several NVIDIA cards in several machines. It's still kind of annoying that they're just always better, at least in my experience. Right, so now you can see here that the highlights are completely wrong because we updated the texture. We haven't updated the meshes yet. So let's do that. Let's move this to the center. That is now Rock 3 FBX. Then we have this guy. That is actually Rock 1. And then this is Rock 2. And now they're really big because we scaled them up in the engine, and then we scaled them up in the Blender file as well. So now we need to scale them down here, and we have them at the correct size here. And now we can see that now the edge highlights are actually, now that we have them at a somewhat reasonable scale, now the edge highlights are actually probably too faint, right? Now we need to actually blow them up again. Let's put them back to 0.3 and see what that looks like. Oh, so, yeah, okay, there, damn it. I need to mess with the radius a little bit to get them to look correct. Let's try just one object. That's like Rock 3. This is Rock 3, yeah. Let's bake just Rock 3. Let's we can clear the image. That's not a problem. I'm just gonna bake 1 and make sure I get the radius set correctly. I think actually the 0.1 might have been okay here, but because this multiplier only really adjusts how faint it is. It doesn't help with the radius in this case. And we want the radius to be considerably larger than what it is here now. We can bake just the one object. It should be done any second. There we go. That's good. Save a copy. And you can see that now it's starting to look like this other rock, for example. Now they look like they are sort of matching, and that's good. If you make this rock, you scale it up here to make it roughly the size of this other one. You can see that the edge highlights are more or less the same, and more or less that is the whole idea with this art style. This art style's name could be more or less. It's a very approximate art style. Yeah, I think this looks okay. this looks okay. So now we can take all of them and just make it. And here you can see how boring these things are if we don't actually have any edge highlight on them. They look sort of unfinished somehow. Look really positively boring. Then when you add a bit of edge highlight, it suddenly sort of comes alive. Even though the rest is just a single color, it's kind of magical. Okay, final object. One more and we should be good. Yeah, it's sad because it's kind of fun to make assets on stream. It can be a little boring to sit by yourself and do this. Makes it more fun to do them on stream, but then this baking on this streaming machine is really bad. Oh well. Right, why does this actually go into the decos all the time? It's not where I want to actually. Oh, I know why. I know why actually. Save as. Yeah, we need to. I've saved the original file inside the decos folder. You need to actually go there. And now if I do save copy, now it's in the rocks folder. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I need to clean that up. It's not supposed to sit there. But yeah, now you can see that now we have nice edge highlights on all the rocks. Should be able to put them into the scene there, and they should just sort of look like they belong. And they kind of do. So cool. So N1 decos like this rock thing. Rock edge highlights. That just needs to go away. Like so. Now we have rock edge highlights there, and we have rock edge highlights here, and that's good. Right. Okay. So let's just end this with doing like sort of like a 10-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute little decoration pass on the level here. We have a bunch of new assets to play with. So, you know, I have this weird sort of pit here, some kind of sand pit or something. So now we can just do. First of all, we need probably a folder here for the rocks. And now we can start to actually add. We can add these to favorites, and this is typically what I do when I do a decoration pass. Create like a favorite. Unfortunately, you can't select, just add everything in one go to favorites. You have to add them one by one. But oh well. And now we can have this little collection of things here that is easy to just access and drag things out of. So we can start with a rock here, for example, like so. rotate it so that it looks interesting. Looks like it fits in the scene. I created this pit here with the intention of putting a rock there. Then I realized I don't have a rock yet. Now I do. Something like that. Then we can put some rock collections, and these we're going to paint here with the decoration painting tool. That just happens to look exactly the same as that one. Let's take another one, put one there as well. That doesn't look very good. Let's take that out. Something like this, and then maybe add a tree there. Not 100% sure. I'm gonna keep this, but just trying something out here. And that needs to go to the trees. It doesn't really matter if I have these ordered correctly or not. I typically try to make that happen, at least to a certain extent. Then we can paint some darkening here if you want to. It's a bit much. Careful not to try to emulate light maps, because we're gonna get light maps. So we need to be careful not to like do the work twice, essentially. What the light maps would already give us. But you can do a little bit of messing with this. Manual random Y rotation, and then something like that. And maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. Remains to be seen. Add some stuff there to on the ground and hope that it comes together using as few of these objects as possible. What's the gravel look like? Right, the gravel is that color. So the gravel was probably what I would have wanted to put here. Let's take the darkener away. Take that away. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it can be there. Looks kind of alright. Yeah, the thing is that the gravel sits under the sand, right? So if we want the gravel to be visible, we need to essentially like remove some of the sand here. And then we need to paint gravel onto it. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is starting to work. This is starting to look like an actual thing. Starting to look like an actual place. Still wonder if this should be larger. Maybe we can add the scale mannequin to the favorites as well. And then just remind us how large everything is here. It's a pretty large rock, after all. But yeah, this is the process. And it takes some practice to make things look nice, but I think it is kind of coming together already. Yeah, that rock actually looks perfectly fine, completely unrotated. Let's leave it as it is. And then you can do a little bit of just an ever so slight lowering of the ground to sort of emulate, I guess, water running along this rock. There's a little bit of erosion essentially, like, but it makes it sometimes look like it sits in the ground in a way that it otherwise wouldn't. Paint some crap around it like that, and then maybe add some rocks there next to it, like so. That kind of thing. And then this slab rock, I think this is one that I'm going to want to embed into the road in a few places. Maybe not there. Let's find a place for it. Maybe like here. Would this be a thing? Because these things, of course, these have actual physics collisions. And so actually what we need to do here is we need to make sure that we can actually drive on them. So these need to be default ground or some other ground. We don't have any rock ground physics material, but these need to be like default ground so that the vehicles can actually drive on them if you want to sort of have that as a thing that exists in and around the roads. Something like that. Yeah. I think that will work. That will probably work. Even cut out a little bit of a small like pit that it's sitting in here. The side of the road, like that. And that's most likely going to look and feel pretty nice. So now we have these things. You can collide with them. Boom. You can actually drive on them, like so. And then the decorations are there, and you don't collide with those. So they need to be kept somewhat small. This one you can now drive over. Yeah. Okay. Yes, it doesn't automatically look super interesting and nice, of course, but I'm slowly starting to have the tools to actually make something nice now that I have a few more assets to play with. Hopefully the velocity of creating these assets go up as I sort of gain more experience working with this particular art style. Still kind of new to me. And my neighbors are again making lots of noise with their trucks. Cool. I think we're pretty much done for today. I have some new toys to play with now. Playing with rocks, literally. And I need to put some time into just using these things that I have now to create some nice looking environments. And quite soon, I think I have this area that we've been working with here in a state where I can consider it sort of done, not counting GI. So light probes, light mapping, that kind of stuff. That will come when I have the environment in a reasonable state. So, anyway, I'm gonna end this here. Thanks to everyone who joined today. Have a great weekend. See you in the next stream. Bye.